Today we have a special guest, Dr. Brian Pedraza, a husband and father here locally in Baton Rouge. He's also the director of theology at Franciscan University. We're going to break this episode into two because we sat down for so long. But what we dive into are a little bit of the things that I listed just now, and also his new project, the Dominus Project, which is a podcast, but also how to implement your faith and lead in that manner, starting in the household. So on this first half, we dive into Brian's upbringing, his multicultural roots, and the story of how faith, family, and resilience shaped his journey. You'll hear about his parents' conversion story, the impact of Catholic education, and pivotal moments in his life that led to his teaching and ministry. So stay tuned for part 2, and let's get into it. Brian Pedraza is episode 26.
What's up?
Brian Pedraza of the Dominus
Project.
Dominus Project, and we'll talk about all the things.
Theology,
local legend, and just an amazing father and husband. Local
husband
legend.
and father is the most important thing. I'm a local legend to my kids.
Yes,
I will tell you that, bro.
Yes, beautiful, man. So we're gonna talk all things, and we'll go where we go.
That sounds great, man.
So I'm excited to learn.
It's a blessing to be with you in this beautiful space, man.
Yeah.
God really is so good.
Thank you. Absolutely. So generous.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll read this real quick.
Hook us up, man.
Love of enemies. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your heavenly Father. For he makes his sun rise on the bad and the good, and causes rain to fall on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what recompense will you have? Do not the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brothers only, what is unusual about that? Do not the pagans do the same? So be perfect, just as your heavenly Father is perfect. What was funny, I was reading this before you came in last night, and I was like, he kind of gives the command first, and then he kind of gets he kind of throws that jab of comparison to the tax collectors. And then what if, do the pagans do the same? So he kind of jabs at you funnily.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he's
right.
Just be perfect.
That's right.
I
know, this is a tough passage, man. It's a tough passage because sometimes you'll hear people be like, God doesn't ask us to be perfect. It's like, well, actually, have you read the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5? I'm pretty sure he just said, be perfect as my heavenly Father is perfect, which is really challenging, right? What in the world is the Lord trying to say to us right there, So this is, I don't know, do you want me to spit a little bit about this?
Yeah.
So this is part of the Gospel of Matthew. That's part of the Sermon on the Mount. And Matthew has already set up Jesus not only as this great teacher, this great rabbi, which the apostles consider him to be, but the last time we've seen somebody going up a mountain having something to do with the law is Moses, and everybody knows that, But the difference here is Moses goes up and he receives the law, and then Jesus goes up and he's not receiving it. He's giving it, right? So this is Matthew's wink, wink. Do you get what I'm trying to say about Jesus here?
Yeah.
This isn't the law receiver. This is the lawgiver himself. And it's interesting that he's using these things that come from the old law. You have heard that it was said, love your neighbor. That is like a synthesis of the old law, right? And then the part about enemies, hate your enemies. I mean, there's never a place directly that the Old Testament would make such a statement like that, right? But it's either an interpretation of another section in which maybe in Deuteronomy where the Israelites were commanded to attack and eliminate their another foreign people because of their idolatry. That's a complicated story. Or it's just one of the ways that Jewish people at the time of Jesus interpreted that law. Because remember, like in other places in the gospel, Jews weren't getting along with Gentiles. They weren't getting along with Samaritans, right? There was this other people, keep your distance, stay clean, stay pure, stay away from other people. So Jesus might be just sort of taking the way that most people would interpret the law at that time. And he's trying to like pull our hearts inside out, you know? Be like, do you see like what it is that you're doing? And is this really the law that the Father gave? Like, do you think this is really what the Father is trying to give us in this law? I mean, he's really trying to teach us to love the way that he loves. And then he gives you that little riff about like, come on, if you just love people that like you, that's pretty easy, is it not? You know, like you and I were having a little conversation about fasting before this, right? It's if you choose like the easy things, like how meritorious is that? You know, it's like I'm gonna give up eggplant this Lent. I don't ever eat eggplant, bro. Like it's probably like one of the few things in life that I don't like to eat. So Jesus is like, it's way more meritorious to do the hard stuff, you know? When people hate you or they do like mean things to you, we all know that's like really hard to love those people, right? Like the people that really get on your nerves, or somebody who's done something that stung and you kind of hang on to it even though you tell yourself like, no, I forgive. But that keeps on nagging you. Those are the people that you got to love if you're really going to be the way that God is, you know? And maybe the last thing I would say is just like perfect. I think a lot of people today will hear that word and they shudder because, I don't know, I would wager that for a lot of younger people today and younger adults, like sin isn't the thing that they're really scared of anymore or that they think that they do wrong. It's shame, right? It's like self-worth, the lack of it, that is really what scares them. So to hear the word perfect, like be perfect, like that's the ultimate, like I know I'm not that and I can't be that even though I try to be that all the time. And so I think that passage scares us, right? To hear that sort of a thing. But Jesus isn't talking about like prissy perfection, image, beauty, the perfect filter on Instagram and all that stuff. He's using a word like in Greek that has to do with the telos of something, like Matthew was using this word, like you might say the perfection of love, like the end goal. Like telos is a goal, like the end, the purpose. And so our purpose is to be filled with love the way that the Father is filled with love. You know, all of this life is about loving God and loving your neighbor. I mean, I would challenge anybody to come up with something that is more meaningful or purposeful than that. Like I've never found it. And I've tried looking in other places, like genuinely trying to think if there are other things that would be more meaningful. There's not. And Jesus is saying being perfected in that kind of charity. In theology, we talk about charity as like a graced love. It's God giving you his ability to love. Being perfected in that's holiness, man.
Yeah.
And that's what Jesus wants for us.
Yeah, I think we see that a bit in our clergy and holy, like sisters and priests.
Please God, we better see into the clergy. All you fathers,
yeah, come on,
this
guys.
This deserves a direct look in the camera here. All you fathers, be holy. I do know some holy fathers around here. Thanks be to God. We got some great priests in this diocese, man.
It's like when there is nothing else, when Jesus is abiding in you. I see that most in even the Mercedarian sisters. And like, for example, I saw, I forget the sister I don't think she's fully professed, but she had a brother and a father, two brothers a father who was becoming a deacon and a brother who was becoming a priest.
Whew.
And so she was flying out of Baton Rouge. We were going to Austin, and sorry for the bells.
I love it.
I'll go turn it down a little bit. But
I love the bells, man.
We saw her at the airport in Baton Rouge, and so obviously she's a spectacle. And so I see her kind of talking to this person, talking to that person, being open to like whatever they have to say, and praying with a couple of people. I'm like, look at her going. And I saw this like young guy. I could tell that he was just being goofy with her and like asking her all these like loaded questions, and you could see that she was just like being unfazed and like meek, but like providing explanation of whatever. I couldn't tell what she was saying.
Yeah.
But
That's awesome.
yeah.
Especially when you perceive that somebody's trying to be stupid with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, do you really want to know the answer to
Yeah.
this question? Or you just, yeah.
Yeah. So I see that, and that comes with I've been speaking a lot to my guests about meekness in comparison to the meekness of Jesus. Not Christianity isn't like weakness. It's not, you're not a wuss. But to see like a Jesus meek is a holy meek. So I think that's kind of what you were kind of talking about there.
Yeah, man. I think the last thing that I would say about it is, don't think that Jesus is saying you have to do this on your own, right? Like, you can't. That's the lesson of the Sermon on the Mount. Like, to climb the mountain of the Beatitudes, like, you actually can't do it.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. Just be perfect the way that God is perfect. Like, nobody can do it, right? Like, no one. And he knows that. Apart from him, right?
Right.
Apart from him. There's only one way that you can be that way. In him.
Right.
And so the real lesson of the sermon is not like Jesus is adding any new laws or anything like that. Like, you're not going to find anything in that sermon that you can't really see in the Father's providing of the old law. But the thing that he really adds is himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm the one who does this, you know? I'm the one who can do this. So if you want to do it too, you'd better be in me, you know?
Can you imagine the velocity behind his sermon?
Oh, it's wild, dude.
I feel like the Chosen, like a lot of people knock on the Chosen, but like it really puts into like a personal sense of like his meekness, but his boldness. And yeah, just it's just like sacred art. Like, you're able to like see a little bit further into the visual of it. But yeah, just the boldness of
from day one, that's Jesus, man. Like, he starts preaching, he's like, the kingdom of God is here. And you can imagine the Jews have been waiting, right, for a Davidic king to kick out the Romans, take the land, and they're probably like, where? Like, what are you talking about? And he's got two thumbs, you know? Like, the kingdom of God is here. That's the ultimate mic drop, bro. To be like, I am, my presence. That's the kingdom. So be in me.
Can you imagine all those years too of like speaking of prophets, and then John the Baptist comes through, this kooky guy, and yeah, like, how do you receive that? I'm like, I pray that like I would have been able to like have the gift of grace to like not be strong-headed.
Right.
But like, dude,
yeah,
he's this crazy dude talking about,
if Jesus showed
like,
up today, if he decided this would be the time period, would you and I be like, I'm following you?
And I think that's where that the meekness comes in, the childlike, but ignorance versus childlike nature. is what I struggle with. Like, don't be an idiot. You gotta put it in.
Well, since you're getting in, you're rebooting for baby season, right?
Me, yeah.
Yeah. How many times has the Lord like shown me something about Him and His relationship with me through my kids? You know,
It's like a mirror of your flaws.
Yeah. So Adrian and I are currently out of the infant and toddler zone. You know, and our kids are now 12, 10, and 7, which is weird because when you're in it, it's like a fog. You know. And it's a battle, and the Lord is calling all of this immense, like physical, emotionally exhausting self-gift out of you, which you're like, I know.
Yeah. I'm seeing my wife's poor eyes with the big belly right now.
But I remember distinctly one time I was trying to put our oldest to bed as a baby, and yeah, there's nothing like an infant when they just rest completely in your arms, you know what I mean? Like total, like
the heavy head.
The heavy head, and it smushes against your cheek, you know? Like, don't you just love that feeling, bro? Like, enjoy it while you've got it, because at some point they get to the age where they don't want to do that, and they may even want you to pick them up, but they don't like give everything.
Yeah.
You know, they're always sort of like squirmy, and they've got this energy and this strength. And you know, I was trying to put Joseph to bed, and you know, when a baby doesn't want to, they arch the back, you know, like,
yeah,
which you hate when you're like, oh no, are you doing this, you know? And I remember he was like late, and I was like, this is so exhausting, Lord. Like, can't you just get him to just relax and to trust me, you know? And then the Father was like, boom. That's right. And I was like,
yeah,
I see what you're doing, Lord. I see what you're doing, you know? Sometimes it just teaches you, man.
Yeah, we've been in this regression state of Josie's 8 months, and she's waking up like 3 times a night. And I'll tell you, I've prayed thousands of Hail Marys, that slot machine Hail Mary. But I put some rosaries in.
Oh yeah,
in that rocker, that dark room with the crack of the door light.
That's it. Yes, tons of rosaries. And I don't know about you, but like we would have to sneak out of the room, and it was like Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the second that there's like a, and then the baby's like, huh? Are you going somewhere? No.
Exactly. I still like we do prayers with Lola, and then I'll hold her hand, our 4-year-old, and I'll have to like, there's like a timing in my head. I'm like, all right, how many Hail Marys can I say before she goes to sleep? And if I like pull my hand out, she'll, what are you doing? Where are you going? I'm like, going to bed.
Babies know, man. They have an altitude meter so that you can't sit down. And then they also have that meter for when you're trying to leave the room. Yeah.
Gosh.
But don't get it twisted, because I don't want anybody to watch this as being like, see, that's why I'm not having a baby. It's the hardest thing that I've ever done and the best thing I've ever done, man.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot imagine my life without my boys. It's just really the best. Greatest thing, man. I wouldn't trade it.
No. And I have a bull in the way, so.
Congrats, man.
We'll see. I was joking about we're going to have 4 girls, and I'm going to have to talk God and my wife into giving me a 5th. But I lucked up and we got the 3rd boy.
That's awesome, man. That's
so
huge.
We'll see the dynamic of diaper changes now.
Yeah,
how that changes.
That's right. It's gonna be a little different.
Oh man. But yeah, children. I say if you want to get your life together, just have a kid.
They literally will pull the love out of you.
Yeah.
You didn't love that you didn't even know you had. They pull it out of you.
Yeah.
So
I tell people when I had Lola, the only way I can explain it was like my heart like burst, and like what I thought I loved. Like I'm a family guy. Like we're Italian and we're big time on family. But my love for my family and everyone that I did love, it just my heart got bigger for everyone that I love. I don't know how to explain it. Like I just love deeper. I love more true.
Yeah, man.
And I appreciate everyone so much more when you have a child.
That's incredible.
Let's get into like how we do these is we just basically go into like as long form as you want to go into of your upbringing, where you're from, and how Catholic was brought into your story and
Yeah.
your major and family and everything, and then we'll
Yeah,
go
bro.
from there. We'll
I don't mind. I don't mind taking it there. So, I guess the first thing I should say is, people might want to know why you got a scrubby looking brown guy in your show. Like, what does it even matter to you? Why does it even matter to this? Why this dude of all
You got
things?
the perfect salt and pepper too. I'm like, man, if I could just like even out mine instead of it just being here, I wouldn't have the ball fade anymore.
Yeah, I tried.
It's
No,
nice.
I had my first grades in high school, man. That's just genetic.
That's Josiah too. Let's go. All right.
Nice. What the most important thing about me is that I'm a husband and a father. So I married Adrian, a Lake Charles girl. Love of my life. I call her mi segundo amor, my second love. She's incredible. She's the burning furnace of charity in our home. And I think people that meet her really sense like a God-given hospitality and love that really just emits from her. We got 3 boys plus 1 that we praise in heaven. So we got Joseph, we got Damien, and we got Colby, and they are incredible, man. Like God just gave us such good sons, man. It's an honor really to be their dad, coming off of Father's Day and just really getting a chance to be thankful for the gift of being their dad. And then Nicholas is the one that we lost in the womb, and so he's buried at St. George, and so he's been, the church says we can't really know for sure, but man, if you ask me, like that kid's in heaven, man. He has been a powerful intercessor for our family when we needed some big miracles. He's the one who really came.
He's
through.
4th.
He was the 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, right before Colby. So yeah, man, that's who I am. But I'm also the director of the theology program at Fran U, or long form Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady University. It's a small but mighty Catholic university here in Baton Rouge, and the Lord is moving, man. Like I'm really just riding the wave of the Spirit with this university and what God has been doing, especially through the direction of our outgoing president, Dr. Tina Holland, who has been a mover and a shaker.
Just a beast.
Incredible woman, right? And then I'm really excited about the new president that we just hired. Dr. Bilar is a good Catholic man. And I'll tell you what, bro, like when he met the faculty during the interview process, his opening statement was, I want to increase the Catholic identity of our university. Like, that's my number one goal. And I was like, if he didn't say it, I was going to ask, and I don't have to ask,
Yeah.
So I'm really, really impressed with him so far. So looking forward to what the Lord's got. But man, we're like, this incoming class of students, we've probably got about 3-4 new majors, 6 or 7 deacon candidates, because we do the formation for the diocese's diaconate.
Is that what Father Josh is involved with?
No,
program?
that's even more. So
Y'all are bursting at the seams.
We got 4 seminarians coming to us now that we're just starting this in the fall. We'll be forming seminarians in their first year. We've got 3 Mercedarians, new ones coming to us. Like, this is all one class of people that are just starting out in the fall with us. So I'm just so pumped, man, to have a chance to form these people, that the Lord would give us like a little small role, in doing something that I pray will affect our land for generations, man. Because that's what I'm out for. I want souls, man. I want souls for the Lord and for His church, and I want to impact this place for generations. And thanks be to God, He's given me a chance, So I do that, and then also I'd call it a side project, but it actually takes half of my time, really.
Oh, this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
half as
yeah,
in
like
3/4 of
this.
your time.
A side main project.
It is, yeah.
It you could think that it was a side order, but it's its own main dish. It's the Dominus Project, which is our mission, the university's mission, to really plant the flag in this community that Jesus is the Lord, Dominus, of our homes, the Domus, of our homes and our families. Because the church has been teaching for a long time that parents are the first witnesses and the most impactful witnesses when it comes to the faith for their kids. But I worry that we've got a culture that tends to outsource to other places. Like, oh, father and sister, they're the ones who are going to teach them that stuff, right? I can't do it. What do I know about the faith? That sort of a thing. When really, I mean, all the studies now show it. Parents are the ones who are having the impact on their kids' faith. And it's just like a no-brainer. Like in every other aspect of life, it's like, who is it that impacts you? It's your mom and dad, right? Or whoever it is that is raising you. They're the ones who impact you. So why would it not have that when it comes to the faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been doing a lot of cool things there. And I'm blown away by what the Lord is doing through this small but mighty university. So
that's through the university as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure is. Yep.
Nice.
I got a grant to run it through the university. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm really just a beggar trying to show people where I found the bread, man. That's what it's all about. But I want to point to what God is doing in this land, because people need to know, like, really incredible things are happening here. I think the sort of things that could change our community for generations, So any way that I could help God do that, I'm on board for it. So that's the kind of stuff I've been praying about and working on. It's been 10 years now. 10 years. So
yeah, there's a velocity with, like, what a time to be Catholic, first off.
yeah, man.
Just the ups and the downs, but then like where we're at right now. And just I think as also being in the South, in Baton Rouge and Lafayette, New Orleans area, like, you don't really understand how good we have it till you go to a Portland or you go to these other places that are just like, yo, like, what's going on? And just to see, like, there's like definitely like a velocity, I keep saying velocity, behind the community here.
Yeah.
And the culture of Catholicity.
Oh, bro, I'm from California.
Yeah, tell us that
I moved to
too.
Ohio.
Yeah.
I moved to New York. I moved to D.C. Now I'm in Louisiana. This is the most on fire diocese I've ever seen. Like 100%. I've lived in a lot of places, man. This place is on fire. Like, the Holy Spirit is doing incredible things.
Mm-hmm.
And even if there's a whole lot of junk we've got to cut through in the culture and whatnot, just as like that line to Esther in the Bible, like, maybe the Lord made you for just a time as this, like, we're the ones who are here, so let's go,
Yeah.
like, we're the ones who are going to do something about it. So I will take ground for the kingdom piece by piece, the first piece is my home. So I am definitely going to take ground there. And then I'm going to keep on taking more and more, heart by heart, soul by soul. So you want me to bring you back to California?
Yeah. Or like, even before, like, where's your family from?
Okay. So my dad, may he rest in peace. He died a year and a half ago. Leo Pedraza. He was a king among men, bro. Such a good man. What a loss, but also a gain for heaven. He had a good death, man. Like, you can't have a better death than that. Hospice at home with the sacraments, got the apostolic pardon. Like, I heard the priest say the prayer, man, which if you've never heard of the apostolic pardon before, like the church gives the authority to the apostles and to their co-workers, the priests, the bishops and the priests, to pray a prayer that would eliminate, take care of all of the temporal punishment that a soul would endure in purgatory for the purification to be in the presence of God. Like, so to hear this prayer come out of a priest's lips, like in front of my father, you know, as he was dying, I was like, whoa. I knew about it. I've read the prayer before, but to have it done to my own father, you know, I was just like tearing up, man. It's just, whew, there's a lot there too. And so many miracles, you know, during the time of his death. But he was Native American and Mexican and Spanish. So he was born right outside of our reservation in El Paso. So we're part of the Tigua tribe. And 2 weeks later, I think, really quickly, his family moved to the eastern part of Los Angeles. He grew up in a Mexican neighborhood where you could hear the papa music, and they're selling paletas in a cart, and everybody's speaking Spanish, and my grandma was making Mexican food. I mean, going to their house, that's what I expected around Christmas time. I expected Christmas tamales and menudo cooking on the stove, and really loved that part of my culture growing up, you know. My mom, on the other hand, this is why you're gonna be like, is this true? This is really true. So my mom is Chinese, but she grew up in Indonesia. So just like we would say there are African Americans here, right? So somebody has an African descent or history, but they have their citizenship here in America. They're Americans. She was a Chinese Indonesian, okay? So Chinese ethnically, so to speak, but Indonesian citizen. And Indonesia is predominantly Muslim. They've got a little bit of Buddhists and a little bit of Christians. And my mom's family, they were Buddhists, actually. And through Catholic missionaries and Catholic schools, my grandparents, we called them Oma and Opa of all things. And you could be like, why would you? Those are Germanic names for grandparents. It's because the Dutch had colonized Indonesia. So Oma and Opa, they ended up converting to Catholicism through the work of these missionaries in the Catholic schools. And so my mom became Catholic. There's a story there, man. This story could go,
Come
man.
on.
It could seriously go. I mean, it was my Oma who really, she was at a Catholic school. They had great education, and a priest came in one day, and he was like, if anybody would like to become Catholic, I'll be teaching catechism after school. And he gave out these prayer cards with the face of Jesus on them. And my grandmother was just captivated by this face, man. I'm talking about art, right? The impact of art. She was just captivated by his face. And she loved the witness of her teachers, the sisters who taught her and everything. She's like, I'm gonna stay after. So she started staying after school to go to catechism, and she didn't tell her parents at first. And then at some point her parents are like, why are you coming home later? You know, and she said, well, I'm going to these classes. I want to be a Catholic. Her parents literally kicked her out of the house, man. Like, locked the door. You are out. And she said she remembers distinctly, it was this rainy day. She didn't know where to go, so she went around to like maybe her aunt's or something, like around where that house was. And she just kind of like curled up into a ball, like at the side of the house. And she pulls out this picture of Jesus. And she was just like, who are you? Who are so beautiful? Like, I'm not kidding, bro. Like, she was just captivated by him. Like, she wasn't going to stop. She wasn't going to stop. She was going to keep going to this class. So, which she did. And then eventually her mom gave way and was like, fine, okay, we'll take you back into the house. And then her mom started to be like really curious about
And how old was your,
my Oma at this time. I mean, she must have been I don't know, junior high or high school or something like that, you know? Her mom started getting interested in what she was learning, and then I don't know much about how that all worked, but I know that she ended up converting. And then she told me that her mom became like the village evangelist. Like she would have these giant meals and invite people over, and she would tell them about Jesus. And it was just like, man, the Lord had a plan there, man, like a plan. But all that to say, like how it pertains to me is my mom then at some point became a Catholic, right? She went from Buddhist to Catholic. And my grandpa, my opa, wanted to chase the American dream. I think he had it, especially with the Japanese occupation during World War II, where he saw a lot of his Indonesian countrymen treated like crap and killed and all sorts of things. And then I think it was right around the time that Kennedy became president here, that short presidency, but he was the first Catholic, right? Mm-hmm. So there was something about, well, America has a Catholic president, you know, like a Catholic can become president over there. And he just figured like, there's no time like now, like let's do this. So he actually flew over to America first. And this is like a well-educated man. He had a really nice, cushy job with, I think it was Shell Oil. And
what year was this?
Well, I don't know. When was Kennedy president? Google,
70?
Tell me when he became president.
60?
Yeah.
And this is your pawpaw.
Yeah. So JFK is president.
Your mom's father.
No, I don't want the junior. I want the real thing, man. Give me that. This is, I know, our generation's so bad at history. He died in 63, so this is the 60s, early 60s. So he worked for Shell, and they had a house with like a housekeeper and a cook, and they gave them all sorts of food. So they were like really taken care of, and most people in Indonesia don't have that. Wow. So he was willing to leave all that to go chase the American dream, and he had to work as like a warehouse boy, you know? So he was just like moving boxes at the docks in California, trying to earn money to bring my mom and his family over. So he finally earned enough money to bring them over. And I think he took up accounting or something. He got his accounting degree, and then he was a hard worker, man. Hard worker. So my mom ends up going to high school of all places at Nogales High in La Puente, California. So that's the town where my dad is growing up, right? This Mexican neighborhood. Nogales High has like a big swap meet like every Saturday where all the people are like trying to sell their food and their items and all this stuff, man. They go to high school there together. And my dad was like the cute basketball player. And my mom was, watching him like, oh, he's so cute. Who's that? And of course, it was one of those things like straight out of the TV show, right? Where my mom's friend was like, oh, you think he's cute? Hey, Leo, come here. You know, my mom was like, oh my gosh, you know him, you know. And then they hit it off right away, and fell in love. They ended up having my brother while they were in high school, so things went a little faster and got more complicated than they had planned. As we know, life happens in that way. There's a story behind that I want to tell carefully, because I'll just put it like this. There were forces in my mom's life that did not want her to have my brother. And she was even at a Planned Parenthood for an initial appointment, them figuring out what they were going to do and how it was going to happen, everything like that. But this is the guts of my parents, man. they basically ran away to make sure that they had my brother, to make sure that he could be born. And so, without getting into all the details, all I could say is there was a lot of bravery, a lot of my mom living in some project house in the most dangerous place in LA just to try and have this baby, you know. But thanks be to God, because I got my brother Leo Jr., you know, he's 5 years older than me. And they are resilient people, you know, resilient people. 5 years after him, they had me. And my dad was a Marine because he joined the military to take care of the family, you know? He really was a beast, man. He worked like 3 jobs at a time trying to take care of the family, and decided to join the Marines to get the health care and all of that. And so he was coming out of the Marines, and there was cheaper.
His father who came in, or was your mom's father who?
It was my mom's dad who came from Indonesia, who came over.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad's dad was a tile layer. Yeah. He actually had an artistic streak as well, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So not only did he do like home tiles, but there's this awesome picture back at my mom's house in California where he did like this samurai. It's almost mosaic, but it's more Native American in style. So it's really interesting that it's a samurai, but in a Native American style, just tiles. And get this, my grandpa was legally blind. So he saw like a little bit of fuzziness or whatever, but I just remember growing up, him having one of those giant magnifying glasses whenever he had to look at something. So he was like putting these tiles down piece by piece, man. It's like a really beautiful picture. I might have it somewhere on my phone. I gotta show
me
you,
there.
man.
Yeah.
But they're resilient. There was cheaper housing away from LA, up in the desert. So if you think of California, it's like a giant sock, basically, right?
Yeah.
And all of the more popular cities are on the West Coast. So with San Francisco up north further, and then you get LA, and then you go further down San Diego. And basically, if you drive about an hour and a half, 2 hours east, a little bit north of LA, you got to pass through the mountains. And on the other side of the mountains is a vast desert. So if you ever see car commercials, you know how cars are always going through a desert. It's always my desert that they're filming. If you see these crazy trees with these points, like green points coming out of them called Joshua trees, like U2's album, Joshua Tree, one of their most famous albums, has a picture of one on the front cover. That's my desert, you know?
Dang.
So they bought a house in the desert.
Yeah.
And that's where I ended up growing up. And I guess to transition a little bit, like into the faith part of this story. So my mom's Catholic because her family converted. My dad, our reservation was actually evangelized by Franciscan missionaries. So to this day, if you go there, there's a Catholic chapel. And I once got to visit. The first car I had bought died on me, my Honda Civic. I drove it into the ground, and my dad was like, if you want to come and get Opa and Oma's old Camry, you could fly out here and you could take it and drive it back. So I was like, yeah, free car. I'm going to do that. So I did it, and driving back from California to Louisiana, I stopped. I was like, El Paso is a great place to stop. You know, I'll stop at El Paso, I'll stop at Dallas, and then I'll make my way. And so I went to Mass. It was my first time visiting our reservation. I'd never been. So I went to Mass on the reservation. It was all in Spanish. There was a giant Our Lady of Guadalupe. The old ladies were Native American and yet speaking Spanish. And of course, like any other parish, they were just so happy to see me after Mass and thanked me for being there and all of that.
If you're single, are you going to be a priest?
Yeah, you're right. right. I didn't hear them say that, but yeah, it was really beautiful, man. It was a special moment because I saw like the statues they had up were confirmations of different things that had happened in my life, where the Lord was like, "See, I've been watching over you all this time." You know, like this is your tradition, your tribe's church. and all of these statues are here as little pieces of your life, you know, which just really, it was amazing for me, man, to do that. So they were Catholic, but I'll tell you, bro, like we weren't saying grace before meals, you know what I mean? Like we weren't, we'd go to mass most Sundays, but if something came up, oh, well, you know, like it was culturally important to us. And I think my dad, if you asked him about it, he would say some things about why he felt his faith was important. He had a real like pride in it. And I think my mom would say the same too. But we wouldn't say like they were like super on fire in the beginning or anything like that. In high school, I went to this giant high school, Apple Valley High, 3,000 kids. My graduating class was probably about 700. And I had my first love in high school. And when your first love ends, it's devastating, right?
It's the end of life.
Yeah. The world crumbles and everything like that. So I was a mess, bro. I was a mess. And I was showing up at this giant public school in tears and being a mess, an emotional wreck. I mean, I'm so immature, dude.
I was there.
I was there. You know what I'm talking about? All right. And then this girl, her name's Kirsten, reached out to me. And she was captain of the swim team, this beautiful blonde. Like when she walked in, it was like a, you know, like her hair would flow
Slow-mo.
like a shampoo commercial, like the fan was on, you know. Yeah, everything would be in slow-mo. And she started dropping these Bible verses like in my locker. She was Presbyterian, on fire, loved the Lord. And I think she probably saw like a hurt puppy, you know? And so she had a heart for a hurt puppy, dropping these Bible verses and stuff. And it was the first time that the Word of God spoke to me, like in the way where you get cut in the heart, you know? And she dropped, I think it was 2 Corinthians 4, about how we hold this treasure. It was part of the ordination mass this past weekend. We hold this treasure in earthen vessels to show that the all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. And so you could be broken and bruised and all of this stuff, but knowing that God's grace and his power is enough, and your brokenness, like, so what? You know, like the Lord can still show his power through that. And just going through the moment that I was going through at that time, to like be reading scripture passages like that just lit me on fire, man. It was the first time that the Word of God was speaking to me. And then, of course, I got her number. And the summer before senior year, we both were driving Toyota Tacomas in the desert. And so it'd be easy to just like have a late conversation under the desert sky, like under the stars, bro, like where there's no light pollution. You could see almost like every star in the sky, man. Like when God was speaking to Abraham, like your descendants would be like this. It looked like that, dude. It was just gorgeous having these conversations. And she would just tell me about Jesus, man. And it was so real. And it was the first time that I had heard somebody talk about the Lord where it was like hold up, like you sound like you just talked to him. Right, you're talking about that dude from like 2,000 years ago, like in the Bible, like that guy, right? It's like, why do you sound like you just had a conversation? Wow. This is because she did, man. Because she did, you know? She knew that the Lord was alive and was in this relationship of prayer with him. And so I just fell in love with Jesus, man. I just fell in love during that time. I also fell in love with her, of course, at the same time as that was going on. But it was like, after I was sold on Jesus, I was like, you're Presbyterian, I'm Catholic. What does that mean? I have no idea what the difference is, you know? And she wanted to know too. And she was going to Presbyterian youth group, and then she knew her pastor really well. And so we started digging. We broke out those catechism that I got from confirmation that was collecting dust and cobwebs. And I was like, let me see what this book is about. And I would flip to the back. The index of the catechism's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Like anything that you're wondering about, they got a paragraph. And I would go to that paragraph and I'm like, this is really good. Like, it makes sense. Like, the wisdom of 2,000 years is packed into this book, man. Like, and it was really blowing me away. And it started making me like really thankful. It's like the church actually has answers to my questions.
Yeah.
Like, who knew? Like, and I got weird questions, like all sorts of stuff, moral stuff. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? And the church has got answers for it. And meanwhile, I'm meeting with her and her pastor and not liking the encounter. It was like a setup. Like I was walking right into a trap. You know, I distinctly remember, so he's a Calvinist because Presbyterians are Calvinists. And so I knew that means that they think that some people are destined for heaven and some from hell, just from the get-go. That's it. Like God just, there's a double predestination, right? And I remember him asking me and my friends who were gathered in his backyard, he was like, if a dad isn't a believer and he feeds his son cereal in the morning, does he do a good thing? And I was like, yes. I think feeding your son is a good thing. He was like, wrong. All of our works are filthy rags. And he'd flip to this passage in the Bible and read it, you know, like, blah, 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 filthy rags. And then he'd ask another question that was like, okay, and we give an answer, wrong. And he'd flip to another place in the Bible. And I was like, this whole thing's a setup, man. Like, all of this, like, this
Exhausting.
is not a conversation. You know what I mean? So it just left a bad taste in my mouth. We ended up going to college together at the University of Redlands in Southern California. It used to be Methodist, but had disaffiliated, was just a big old secular school with all of its secular problems. But they still had the beautiful Methodist chapel on the campus because it was architecturally magnificent. They didn't want to destroy it. I get to college, and Kirsten's going to the same college, of course. And I'm like, I got to look up the Catholic campus ministry. What do they do here? Somebody's got to be here to take care of Catholic students. And they have like some sort of fair at the beginning of the school year. And I see this dude who looks like a monk. He's in brown robes. He ends up being a friar, actually. He's a Carmelite friar.
Nice.
His name's Father Thomas Kohler. I love you, Father Thomas. My spiritual director to this day.
Dang.
He was there tabling, and there was a Carmelite retreat house in that city. And he was the friar assigned to help with the Catholic ministry. I introduced myself, and that's all cool and everything. He seems like a nice guy, but whatever. And he tells me they're going to have Mass in the upper room of the chapel. So that Sunday, we go to Mass in this upper room. Now, granted, this is a beautiful Protestant chapel, man. But we don't use the main part. We go up the stairs to a room that they basically use for storage. But I love that it's an upper room because, as you know, bro, that's where the Last Supper was held and everything, right? So we just go to this upper room with a small little altar in there.
What?
And he, like, threw me in the deep end. Like, there might have been, like, 7 people at Mass, and at the end of Mass, he was like, and now Brian's going to come up and he's going to talk to you about some Bible studies that we're about to start. And I was like, what? I'm gonna what? But he must have known that I would go for it, right? So I was just like, okay, all right, we're starting some Bible studies. Let's go. So I don't know what it was, man, but the Lord was just like, yeah, you will do this. You will do this. So
Empowered you.
What's that?
He like empowered you on
He
the
did,
spot.
man. He did. And that's the way that the Lord works sometimes. Like Calvin had it right about predestination. Is just not the double predestination, right? He doesn't create people for hell. But there are times where the Lord is like, I want you. I got something that you're going to do. And you're not going to know why it's you, but it's you. And I felt that, you know? But I'll tell you what was life-changing was just spending a year with this man, Father Thomas. If your viewers don't know much about Carmelite spirituality, this is the order that gave you Saint Teresa of Avila in the interior castle. This is the order that gave you Saint John of the Cross in the dark night of the soul. The order that gave you Saint Therese in the little way So this is an order that is steeped in sort of like humility, silence, joy. Those are sort of marks of Carmelite spirituality. And Father Thomas, man, the way he would celebrate Mass sometimes, it wasn't a show. It wasn't a lot of fireworks or anything. When he preached, it was just this quiet confidence. He fed my head and heart at the same time. He would open up the scriptures. He'd talk about the way the church fathers interpreted the scriptures. And then he would teach us to pray, man. Like when he consecrated that Eucharist for 7 people in an upper room, sometimes by candlelight, like he would hold up our Lord after saying the words of institution. And when the priest holds it up to show the people, like by candlelight, I would see a tear going down his face, man, as he was just staring at the Eucharist. And it was the first time that it hit me. I was like, Jesus, you're there. Like, I've been Catholic my whole life, and you're there. Like, why am I just realizing this 18 years into this game, just by his witness, he didn't say anything. I just saw it on him, And then after communion, this was the best part, man. After communion, he would sit down in the presider's chair just for a little silence. And it wasn't just a little. He'd go like 5 minutes of utter silence, just like taking it in. And like 5 minutes is an eternity for people. Like, we don't sit in silence,
No.
You know what I mean? So we would get like really uncomfortable, and like the rest of us, the students, we'd look at each other and be like, did Father fall asleep? Like, should I go wake him up? And it was the point where, 10 minutes could go by. It was the point where it was just so unbearable that somebody was going to do something, where Father would just kind of have like a little smirk on his face, his eyes still closed, and he would say something like, Doctor of the Church, St. Teresa of Avila says, the moment after communion is the moment of greatest intimacy in prayer.
Mm.
And then he would stay silent another 5 minutes, and we would be like, oh. But bro, imagine going through that. Not just Sundays, but, a couple times a daily Mass, like for a year, man. And by the end of that year, I could go 30 minutes easily in silence. And I was just hungry. And it's not emptiness, right? It's filled with...
Is that contemplative prayer?
It's contemplative prayer, man. They're the ones who really gave the church that gift of contemplative prayer. And John of the Cross says it's... You hit this threshold where your senses, your human capacity, your intellect, and your will, which, normally you begin prayer by learning prayers to say, which is beautiful, and the church has real important treasures. You don't ever leave that behind, but along with it, you learn mental prayer. So in your mind, you're like crunching on the mysteries of Jesus's life and things like that. It involves a lot of images and words in your mind. And then he says you could come to this point where you feel like the Lord is beckoning you like beyond what human capacities could receive of him. And so contemplative prayer is not the sort of thing that you just like, I'm going to will it right now. I'll just do it. But what you can do is choose to be receptive. Like the thing that I'm choosing is to receive you, Lord. Like, I want more of you, and I will sit here in the silence and open myself to receive you and only you. And John of the Cross says it's sort of like staring at the sun. You can't see, but it's not because there's a lack of light. It's because there's too much light. Too much light, bro. That's what contemplative prayer is, right? So your senses, you're not getting the images or the words, you're just getting union with him, that part of you that can't even receive what it is that he's giving at that moment, because you just weren't made you don't have the capacity to receive all of that, but it's the most incredible union that could happen in prayer. And so that's what he formed me in, man. Like, that's my spirituality to this day. It just changed me, man. It just taught me how to pray. So that was, I don't know. I'm so grateful, man. That dude changed my life. Father Thomas, yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about the last time that you just sat in something completely silent. Like right now, we got the cars outside, and even if the cars weren't there, maybe you get the buzz of the fluorescent light or something like that, right? But when it's just purely silent, we're almost like frightened because we're just not used to it anymore, you know? But Elijah, when he's on that mountain, he's like, I'm looking for you in the storm. You're not in the storm. I'm looking for you in the fire. You're not in the fire. I'm looking for you in the earthquake. You're not in the earthquake. Where are you, Lord? And the scripture says, in the still silent sound. Whatever that means. What the heck is a silent sound? Right? But that's where he is. That's where he met him, you know? And that's why Elijah is, you know, the founder, so to speak, of the Carmelite spirituality. They look to the prophet Elijah as the one who really is the one that started them on this way.
That's what I want to paint. I want to paint him debunking the false prophets.
Oh, bro. Such a great scene. Such a great scene. The battle against the prophets of Baal. I love that scene, man. I teach Old Testament in the fall, so when I go through that scene with my students, they are just like, this is so wild, man. So wild. It's a showdown, right? You want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
So this is a showdown between the God of Israel and then a idol that the Canaanites worshipped called Baal, or Baal, if you will. And the Israelites have a king who's not great at this time period. He marries a woman named Jezebel, and this woman is evil in the worst way.
Is she worse than Herodias?
She's in the same line. Same line, because Jezebel does the same thing in the sense of she kills all the prophets of God. She has them murdered. She wants this to happen. Elijah, for all he knows, is the only one left. And so he's upset, you know. That's the famous scene. That's why he goes to sleep under a tree, and the Lord has to encourage him, like, get up, you know, eat. The journey's going to be too long for you. But in the midst of this, when Jezebel is killing all the prophets and everything, Elijah comes, and he's like, I'm going to show them who God really is, the real God. And so he challenges the prophets of Baal, Jezebel's God, against the true God, the God of Israel. And there's like these two opposing mountains. And he's like, your prophets, and I forgot how many of them, but there's a ton of them, like a ton of their prophets. You set up a little altar and a sacrifice, and then I'm going to set up an altar and a sacrifice to the God of Israel. And the true God is going to rain down fire from heaven to make this a burnt offering. You know, so they set it up, and all the prophets of Baal are like, they got their sacrifice going, and they're like dancing around like relentlessly hours, and nothing happens. You know, and then Elijah is like calling out to them. He's like, what happened? Maybe he fell asleep, guys. Maybe he's using the restroom. He even says that, you know, like maybe he's using the restroom right now. And then on his side, he sets up this altar and puts the sacrifice. But not only that, but twice, man, he takes water and just douses the whole thing. So it's sopping wet. So there's no cheating, right? Like if this thing goes up in flames, it's not because Elijah did it. In fact, he's made it hard for this thing to catch fire. So he's doused it twice, and then he humbly prays to the God of Israel, like, Lord, light this up. boom, right? Fire from the sky just annihilates his sacrifice. And of course, all the prophets of Baal are scared out of their mind, like fire's falling from the sky or whatever. And then Elijah goes and he somehow, I forget if Elijah ends up killing those prophets or if God ends up doing it, but the prophets of Baal have a bad day. And that's the end for them, you know? But it is just, it's intense, bro. That story, absolutely intense. And at the heart of it is the battle for who's the true God. You know, that's actually the story of the Old Testament. It's just the one true God trying to get his people to worship him, but they keep on going astray. They keep on falling. They're adulterous, you know? They keep on falling for other gods, and he's relentless in trying to win them back. So that's cool, man. You're going to paint that, huh?
Oh, man, I need a reason. Father Brad kind of titted with me about it, but I don't know. Maybe this is another reason to, I don't know. Maybe we could team up on some stuff for your class.
That'd be cool, man. I've actually seen a prayer candle that captures this moment. You know how you go to the store and you're like, oh, look at it, it's Our Lady Guadalupe.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, it's the Sacred Heart. Oh, it's St. Joseph. One time there was a candle that had the prophets of Baal getting like lit up.
I haven't
by
even seen
the
many
fire in the
paintings like at
sky.
all.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, I can't believe this is on a candle. This is the coolest candle ever. So, I don't know, man. That's a wild story.
Man.
I'd love to see you do it.
I know, me too. Like in that style.
Yeah, because you have a gift for doing something in a classic style, but it's something about your presentation, man, that
I spoke at
it shocks a little bit the viewer.
I spoke at theology. There's a couple layers to this. I spoke at Theology on Tap, and this woman called me out. Like, where do you get your inspiration from? Like, what books do you read? I'm like, well, I can count the books I read on one hand. No, but I was like, no, I get I definitely have a bug for cinema since I was a little boy. I've always loved like drama movies.
Yeah.
The sets, the lighting, all the things. And it's funny when I went to Italy and Blair and Kate Capato and all those guys, the school was like full of girls before me and Norman came. And the art reflected that, you know, which was beautiful, angelic, soft, all the things.
Yeah, Blair's a real deal, man. Oh
She is the real deal.
Wow.
And
But
so,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and so I come in there and I'm like, the culture of this place is soft. Like, I'm going to have to come through with all my trauma and all my drama and bust through this thing.
Yeah.
No, and so, like, of course, I paint a black Saint Sebastian. I dated a black girl. So, like, that was on my heart. And some of the priests were like, they come through, like, to visit the school, and they're like, Saint Sebastian. Or, like, whatever. And I'm like, yeah.
It, bro.
And, like, and then, obviously, the John the Baptist.
I love it.
And so... yeah, it brought the drama. So I'd love to like find ways to get back to it.
I'm no art historian or anything like that, but I do love the paintings of Caravaggio and his
number one inspiration.
His use of light, and he does have that. There's something like shocks you, you know. Like outside my office, I've got Thomas reaching in, and the fact that he's got Thomas's finger like actually going into the wound, it's almost like ooh. Yeah, when you walk by, you know? Yeah, that's right.
And Jesus even has like this little like shoulder. I'm like it's, I can feel it in there. Mm-hmm. And he's pulling him in, right? Is that the one where he's like, or is he just like on his own? He's on his own.
There's a couple guys who are around him like, what? Yeah. You know?
Caravaggio, yeah.
But yeah, it's visceral because you just don't expect that finger to go in. You know, but it's in.
Yeah, he's like my number one inspiration as far as Renaissance, Baroque, whatever he is.
I can see that, bro. I can see that, man. There's something about the way that he does things, and the lighting. I used to have a high school art teacher, Mr. Kurtz, may he rest in peace. because my brother's like a big artist. Like he loves, I don't mean like popular, but like he loves art and is really good at
Yeah.
it. And we had the same high school art teacher, and Mr. Kurtz would always be like, lighter lights and darker darks. You know, that was like one of his number one things. Lighter lights and darker darks.
That's what I say.
Nice.
That's the best part of a painting, is it coming at the end and highlight and then punch the shadows. There's nothing better than that moment.
Nice.
Yeah, I say that's the parts.
Oh,
The,
cool. Cool.
Yeah.
That's what he taught me in Caravaggio. Yeah, I see it so clearly, you know. But there's an affinity, you know, between your style there that kind of grabs your attention. So, cool stuff, man.
Pray the Lord can bring about scenarios where I can get back to it.
Yeah. Come on, Lord, give him scenarios where you can get back to it.
Yes.
Free him up.
Yes. So, all right. So we were in contemplative prayer.
Oh yeah.
And you're
back to the story.
Yeah. Amazing.
Okay, so that's college. My first year. Kirsten and I made a deal that year. You go to mass with me, I'll go to crusade with you on Wednesdays. Okay. So we started doing that. The guy who was leading crusade was a used to be Catholic.
Oh.
Which is just like, that's the toughest, man. Because he set a trap. He invited Kirsten and me to a meeting with just him so that we could possibly help him with leadership. That was the guise of this meeting. It had nothing to do with that. He had his Bible. He made us watch this video, this VHS. Yeah, I'm a bit older, bro.
Oh, no, that's me too.
Okay. This VHS of propaganda against the Catholic Church. Like, I mean, like images of the Pope and swirling newspapers and like dramatic music. And I was so offended, man, that he would call this meeting so that we could help with leadership. And this is what he wanted to do. And Kirsten too was just like, this is sick. Like, what is this, you know? So experiencing that on Wednesdays and then Sundays, like entering into silence, peaceful union with the Lord, the scriptures being broken open, the church fathers teaching us easily, Kirsten started to see, like, I want to be Catholic, you know? Like, there's that love, that relationship I have with Jesus, I don't have to leave it behind. It gets deepened and widened and heightened here in this, you know? So she entered RCIA and she asked me to be her sponsor, which was super cool. And that year, I still remember the Mass. She received Jesus for the first time in the Eucharist, man. I was crying. She was crying. She received it from Father Thomas. And he encouraged us because I started to feel this hunger in me, like, I want to study the faith. I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I went to Redlands thinking I'd be an English teacher because my high school English teachers were like really quirky and I loved the way that they taught. So I was like, I guess I'll be an English teacher or whatever. Yeah. But I just was getting so hungry for understanding the faith. And I was like, I got to study theology. Like, even at Redlands, I took all of the religion classes about Christianity, even though they were crappy, dude. Like, they were trying to rob people of their faith. But it bolstered me because it just gave me like, no, I'm gonna find the argument for why they're wrong.
Wow.
You know? And so Father Thomas was like, if you're gonna study theology, you can't stay here. Like, you need to go to a place that teaches it. And so at the time, he told me to go to a place called Steubenville, which I'd never heard of before, bro. I literally was like, did you just say Stupidville?
That's what I said. Yeah. When I got in Italy, I heard of Stupidville.
I was 29. Like, I've never heard of this place.
And like, you never heard of Steubenville? Like, nah.
I was clueless. So, but I trusted him. And so I went, and Kirsten transferred to, and my best friend from high school, Jonathan, was just finishing high school, and he was going there. The girl that I broke up with, the first love, was at a different school, and she was transferring there. So there were 4 of us from the same hometown, this desert town in California, who were now like converging like at this place. And, I'll always be grateful for the formation that I got there. I will say I was helped by having a year before Steubenville, because, there's always that worry that people could be caught in like a bubble mentality. At least back then. I don't know what it's like now. This was in 99 that I transferred to Steubenville, right? There were a lot of kids who'd go to like a Steubenville conference and be like, this is amazing, I'm going to go to college there. And they sort of expected the camp experience during the whole thing. And it's set on this mountain in this old steel town and steel's not a thing anymore. So the town has like been run down completely. And so we would joke about like people were trying to stay on the mountain, but not like go down and amidst the filth of all that or whatever. So it's real easy to get caught in a bubble mentality or something. But I was helped by the fact that I'd seen what the world was saying about the church and the faith for a year at Redlands, and especially the academic way of attacking the faith. And so I kind of went into this formation being like, I'm here to be trained as a missionary, and then I'm leaving this place so I can start taking ground for the Lord. I was the assistant for the priest in charge of works of mercy, so like taking care of the poor and mission trips and things like that. So I was like heavily involved there. Really experienced, I think the best gift that school gave to me was a genuine experience of communal life in households. So those are like fraternities or sororities that are Christian based. So my household is the Apprentices of St. Joseph. So the brothers have one thing that bonds us, is that we want to learn to be men from the man who taught Jesus. Like that is what gives us brotherhood. And to have older brothers, like the upperclassmen, sort of forming the younger brothers to come up and take up leadership and to be witnesses to the younger brothers, it just created this feel of what a genuine community is supposed to be like. I'll be forever grateful for that experience. When I graduated, I thought I was going to be a missionary. Actually, speaking of missionaries, I had a friend whose family was from Thailand, and they were opening up their house to become a missionary house. And so I was getting myself ready to be a missionary in Thailand. And then one random day, I was walking from the cafeteria, and Father Stan, the Franciscan friar, who's the guy in charge of the works of mercy and stuff like that, he caught me and he was like, Brian, I'd like you to be my assistant. I was like, Father, I'm like graduating. It's like, you could stay for your master's or something like that. And I was just like, stay for my master's. Okay.
I like to learn.
So that derailed me, and I was like, okay, I'll stay for my master's. I probably wouldn't do that if I had to rewrite things now, just because I'm still paying off my loans from that master's degree, bro. Master's degrees are cash cows. Oh my goodness. But,
is that your theology degree, or that was?
So undergrad, I did theology, and then my master's, I also did theology.
Wow.
Yeah. So I stayed 2 more years and helped him a lot with works of mercy and serving the poor and mission trips and stuff. And this priest is so awesome, man. He's getting older. I heard that he had a bout with dementia, or is still, fighting that. So pray for him. But just think of a giant, strong Santa Claus. He had like red hair, big red beard, really big, strong dude. And just an example of his Franciscan charism. Some students got the idea that they wanted to feed the homeless in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's like 45 minutes away from Steubenville. And they wanted to do it in Market Square, which is like a main square where there's a lot of bars and restaurants, a lot of nightlife going on right there. And so they want to feed a hot meal, and just like hang out with these people. And Father Stan is like, let's do it. You know, he's a Franciscan, man. Francis loves the poor. That's, you know, at the heart of St. Francis is a love of Jesus, but a way of doing it where you embrace lady poverty. Like, you will be poor to serve the poor is the Franciscan way. So Father Stan is like, let's go. So he loads up like a 15-passenger van with a grill and hot dogs and burgers and students. And they go out to Market Square, and he just starts firing up the grill in the middle of this city square. And homeless people are coming out, and they're just hanging out and getting burgers and dogs and just chatting with the students and everything. Well, the owners of the bars and restaurants get a hold of this, and of course they're like, no, you ain't doing this, you know, in our square, nor do we want all these homeless people around.
Sure.
So they call the cops, and the police show up, doing their duty, of course, and they're like, hey, Father, you gotta have a license to, like, to be feeding these people, to be, like, cooking people right here. Like, you can't do this on public property. And so Father Stan is like, I can't do this on public property. He was like, is the van my property? And the police are like, what are you getting at? Next thing you know, he's pulling the seats out of the 15-passenger van, puts a hot grill into the back of the van, and the smoke is billowing out of this thing, and he's still serving up burgers and dogs to the people, man. Like, he's not leaving this place. The students are like, he almost burned that van down, like, doing that.
I can't imagine.
But the police got the message, because after that week, the students, every Thursday night, they'd cook a hot meal, they'd go down to Market Square and just hang out with the people. And, like, homeless men and women came into the church from that ministry, bro. Like, at Steubenville. Like, they encountered the Lord and his goodness in the church, and, like, joined RCIA, and, like, you know, like, it's wild, man. It's so wild. So that was cool for me. It was very formative for me to experience working under a priest like that. It really kept my head out of the bubble. Thanks be to God. And then after I graduated with my master's, I had spent some time during my years at Steubenville. Every year I was there. I was there for 4 years, 2 years to finish my undergrad, 2 more years for a master's degree. I had gone to this ministry in Chicago called Emmaus Ministry. Shout out to Emmaus Ministries. And this ministry, get ready for this, okay? This ministry is to men involved in male prostitution. Which, like, people just don't even know that this exists, like, that this is a thing, okay? So, you know, parents, if you're watching this, we're bumping to PG-13 here, okay? So just so you know, forewarned. So male prostitutes typically are guys who are addicted to drugs, and that feeds why they sell themselves into prostitution. And the sad fact is their customers tend to be middle-aged white business dudes with families and stuff like that. Like, no joke, man. And so they would go and pick up these male prostitutes in the gay area of Chicago, which is called Boys Town. I don't know if you've been to Chicago, but there's a whole area that is just gay bar after gay bar and things like that. And so for 4 years, I would go and spend about a week, like, with this ministry just to see what they did. I was so impressed. It was started by a Catholic deacon. Talk about bringing hope to a place where you think there's no hope, right? Like, these are dudes who are getting high so they could put themselves through the experience, so they get money, so they can buy more drugs. And it's just this vicious cycle. Like, that's what they're stuck in. And the ministry was smart enough to not tell us that we could save the world, right? Because when you're a college kid going on a mission trip, like, I'm going to go save the world, do all this awesome stuff. And they were like, no, you're here to learn. You're here to learn how to do this because this is a long battle that they're engaged in. So we would just spend time in the community, and then the highlight of each trip, so to speak, they'd call it an immersion night, where you and a buddy, because the apostles go out in pairs, you would just go and hang out in the gay bar district of Chicago, and your job is just to become friends with people. Why? Because real healing and conversion only happens when people know that they're loved first, right? It's the same thing with, pick any other audience that you would try to love and bring closer to the Lord. If the person doesn't know that you love them and genuinely care about them, they're not going to listen to you. They're just like another notch on your belt, or another hash mark on my notepad, like got another one, whatever. So they just wanted us to learn, and man, I learned a lot, bro. Just like hanging out in those environments. If you ever want to play Two Truths and a Lie with me, I will tell you one of the real truths is my first beer was in a gay bar.
Sounds like a joke.
Right, man. It really was.
I remember
dude.
my first beer.
Yeah, but just the experience of going through that, man. I mean, there were, man. I'll give you one story from this.
Yeah.
I'll give you this one story. So it was my last time there, the fourth time. And I had learned throughout the years that, in the beginning you're so worried and you play like fake to try and fit in. So like, hey, what are you guys doing here? Oh, we're just on spring break hanging out. Like, yeah, get out of here. Like you stick out like a sore thumb. Everybody could tell that you're not used to being there or whatever. By the fourth year, I knew, like, if you want to love somebody, authenticity. 100%. So it was me and my buddy Eddie, who has a gift with people. Like he's good at chatting with people. And instead of hopping from place to place to place, we just went to 2 bars. One bar was like the hip young bar, and the other bar was the dive for the old geezers. And so the young bar was just wild because people are like dancing to the oonch oonch music or whatever. I totally learned what it must be like to be a woman in this world, because this number of people who objectify you the second you walk in the door. It was like, this is weird, bro. This is so weird, But the highlight, we go to this dive bar, and we sit at the corner because this is the best place to talk in a bar, because you get both sides, right?
Yeah.
And the bartender's like, what are you guys doing here? We're on a mission trip. Working with this ministry, and honestly, we're just learning how to make friends. Like we're just straight up honest, which intrigues them,
Yeah.
They're like, okay, we're
Yeah.
actually going to talk to you. And the bartender, he was like, oh, Steubenville. Don't get me started on Steubenville. And he knows all about Mother Angelica. He's talking about EWTN, and he's all like upset and like flustered, and he would walk away and was like, I don't want to talk about it. And then of course a minute later he comes back and he wants to talk about it, and I was like, there's something going on with this dude here. Like there's some wounds and some heart's desire that haven't been met in this guy.
I'm thinking Mother Angelica.
I know.
Stone cold woman.
I know. It's not the first time that I've heard a gay man actually be intrigued by Mother Angelica. She's powerhouse evangelist.
One of my favorites.
So we're there, and this dude comes, sits next to me, an old guy, and he starts talking to me about why I'm here, and I share, and he starts opening up to me. He was like, you know who my favorite saint is? Padre Pio. I'm like, no kidding, man, Padre Pio. And he starts telling me stories about Padre Pio. In my mind, I'm like, what am I doing in the middle of a gay bar in Chicago with a bartender who's got some beef and love with the church, and this dude who loves Padre Pio right now, The whole night was like that, bro. The whole night. And me and Eddie, we leave that bar, and I kid you not, the bartender was like, man, I wish you guys would be here next week too. Because John comes in, he teaches out of school. He'd love to chat with you guys about this stuff. And, we left, and it was just like,
seed.
That's, if you're a part of this ministry, that's how you do it, right? Because if you can become a regular at a place like this and people get it, that you're real, that you do love them, they know that you don't necessarily agree with the choices that they're making, but they get that you actually love them, you could make some real inroads, you know, in this ministry. So I don't know, man. That was there's way more wild stories I could tell you about the stuff that I did there, but probably not for public consumption. But I ended up, after those 2 years at Steubenville, that master's degree, thinking that I was going to go volunteer with Emmaus because I was just so moved. So I was looking for church jobs in Chicago, and then I would volunteer my time at Emmaus. And so I put out a bunch of feelers to Chicago parishes and stuff like that. In the meantime, I was like, I got to have a plan B. So I applied to high schools in Southern California, where my parents were, and then upstate New York, where my brother was, because he was working for Cornell University in student life. And I probably put out 50 apps at least, cover letters, resumes, and stuff like that. I got a couple interviews from schools in California that didn't pan out. And then I was like, I don't know, man. Like, what's going to happen, Lord? This is a lot of feelers that I've put out, and nothing seems to be materializing. And at the last second, it was like, I'm just going to try this school in upstate New York. Give them a call in a place called Geneva, New York. It was between Rochester and Syracuse. Like, not many people heard of this place. I give them a call, and somebody actually picks up. And they're like, oh, gosh, we've been wanting to talk to you. Like, yeah, this is great. We would love to interview you and this and that. One thing leads to another. They hire me, over the phone. And I find myself buying a Honda Civic and driving out to upstate New York, man. And only after I accepted the job did I hear back finally from a parish in Chicago that was interested in me. And I was like, dang, too late. My yes means yes, and I just told these people yes, so I guess I'm going to New York to be a high school teacher. And so I drove this Civic, and I stayed at friends' houses along the way in the country. It was a great trip, man. A lot of fun just staying with people that I loved and getting to be with them, pray with them, and I bought my first cell phone, so this is like 2003. This is a little flip phone.
That was 8th grade.
Yeah. That was 8th grade for you? Yeah. 2003, I had my first cell phone, and I had maps, like, from the AAA, like these giant paper maps.
That's right before MapQuest, I guess.
Yeah. So I would just use these paper maps to get me from place to place. And then when you get into the city, you just call your friend, and they say, like, no, take a left at this tree, and then, like... Dude, that's how we got everywhere, good. Man. We got to get back to that, honestly, because that's a whole nother conversation.
About the brain.
About technology is robbing some of our humanity. Just stuff that we should know how to navigate our town, bro, without a phone. You know what I mean? Heck, I've got my wife's phone number memorized, but I don't think I got anybody else's. You know what I mean? Nobody else's. But I go to upstate New York. I live with my brother in Ithaca. It's about an hour away from Geneva.
Okay.
So I drive a country road for an hour to go teach each day. It snows like crazy there.
Dang.
So some days I'm beating the snowplows out. Like my little Civic is tearing through the snow before the snowplow does. And I teach at this school, man. I'll tell you, that first year I felt so alone. So alone, because at the time my brother wasn't really practicing the faith, and I didn't really know anybody up there. There's nothing like going to mass each Sunday alone, in a place, because you just don't know anybody, and nobody's really reaching out to you at mass, so you just kind of... I had my faith put to the test, in other words. All this stuff that I had built up since that senior year of high school, falling in love with the Lord, growing in my faith, learning how to pray, learning theology. It was like, time to see if this is real. You were doing this just for the people around you, or is this real? And every Sunday I kept coming back, man. Like, kept on going to mass and trying to teach my students at that high school, small little Catholic high school, about the Lord. Had some amazing conversions. Some of those students I would call friends now still.
Dang.
Like, you know, this is decades later, man. 20 years later. One of them was a bridesmaid in our wedding, you know.
Come
It was
on.
incredible, yeah. Shout out to Colleen. But not without massive persecution, man. There was the students who grew in their faith were persecuted enormously. Evil stuff, man. Evil stuff. It was spiritual warfare became manifest, you know, in trying to do God's work at that place. After 2 years, I knew if I stay teaching in this place, it will run me into the ground because I'm putting my heart into everything. Like, I'm waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got to drive an hour. If there's snow, it's an hour and a half. I'm staying after school to work out with some guys to get them into campus ministry. Then I'm waiting until practices are done so I could run campus ministry. When am I going to grade my papers, my homework? I'm getting home at 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
Drive.
And then I'm going to bed to do it over again, you know?
Yeah.
Like, after 2 years, I was like, I don't think I could keep doing this. And the second year, I meet this guy named Tim. I mean, you were asking me about him, right? So Tim is on a podcast that I've been doing with the Dominus Project called Heart of the Father, a Dominus Project. It's me, Deacon Michael Parker, who's a real local celebrity, not like a fake one like me, and my buddy Tim. And I meet this guy. He's a student at Cornell. He's a football player, defensive tackle. And he is just on fire. He was formed by a ministry in New Jersey that was evangelization 100%. And he felt like, I think rightly, that the Catholic community at Cornell, this Ivy League school, while they had a Catholic community and there was mass and things like that, they weren't evangelizing. That's just not what they were about. And Tim was friends with a lot of Protestants, so we would go to FCA together, you know, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Crusade, InterVarsity, and there were good things happening, but it sort of felt like, hey, let's come together, we'll sing a few worship songs, there's going to be a speaker, and then we'll close it out with a couple worship songs, and we'll go back to our lives doing all the bad stuff that college kids do, you know? Like, that was what it felt like, and he was like, where's the real evangelization? Like, who's really changing hearts on this campus? And so we really hit it off, and I asked him to come lead retreats for my students. So he gathered Christians from all the sports teams that he knew. So his fellow football players from Cornell, basketball players, volleyball players, they came, and just imagine the impact it had on these high school students to have these D1 athletes come in, and they were raw, dude, like totally raw in talking about their faith and their struggles, and it was super impressive, man. It was so real for me and for my students to hear all this. And then after that year, Tim and I were like, we got to do something, man. Like, the Lord is really doing something here. And the clincher for me is, while I'm praying with Tim about what does he want the two of us to do, that Catholic community at Cornell had a group of students who were doing these like praise and worship nights with adoration. And a couple of the leaders came up to me one day, because I was grabbing lunch probably with Tim on Cornell's campus. And a couple of them just came up to me and they were like, hey, I know this sounds weird, but we've been doing this thing for campus ministry, and we feel like we've hit a ceiling, and we feel like the Lord wants more. And we were praying about who could help us, like, get past this. Like, we need somebody a little bit older than us who might be able to, like, help us, like, do something more and something different. And we thought of you. And I was like, get out of here. Like, and meanwhile, I'm looking at Tim. I'm like, we're talking about doing something new. Like, what are you putting together, Lord? So we prayed our guts out, me and Tim. And this opportunity opened up where this Christian ministry called the Christian Union, they try to buy really nice houses on Ivy League campuses to become Christian centers. And they needed some people to live in the house that they were making at Cornell. And I don't know how we got involved in this, but somehow we became two of the guys to live at this really nice renovated house, man. I mean, totally nice. Like, yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, it's the Lord, it's providence. And so Tim and I are gonna live in this house, and we come up with this game plan. It's like, let's pray, and I'm gonna quit my job at the high school at summer. I'll tell the principal I'm not coming back.
I'm out of here.
And I'm gonna help you guys do this ministry. The first couple of weeks, we are gonna like be present on Cornell's campus, because that's huge for campus ministry. A college student, the first 2 weeks of the semester, they set their schedule and they don't change it, right? Who you eat lunch with, when you go to lunch, where you're going. In the first 2 weeks, that gets cemented, right? So we're like, we need to be in the cement for those 2 weeks. So Tim especially is going to go out and beat the bushes. And then we're going to pray about people that the Holy Spirit will literally be like, him, her, go ask. And we will approach them and be like, we are going to start a evangelizing ministry. Would you come and pray with us about being a part of this? And so, Tim, you saw a little bit of the podcast.
Yeah.
He literally has a charism for evangelization. Like, people are just drawn to him. Like
a tidbit. I was watching my first episode that I've seen, and I see the 3-split screen.
Yeah.
Of Brian, Michael Parker, local celeb, and this white guy.
And you're like, who's that dude?
Ex-athlete.
Yeah.
And this dude's speaking more than y'all. I'm like, okay, dude, let's go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's got it.
Yeah, who's that dude?
He sure has it.
Mm-hmm. Just as an example of the charism, like, he did not start on Cornell's team his freshman year, which is, that's not anything crazy. He was not a starter his sophomore year, but the team named him team captain. That you got to have something going on with you.
Yeah.
When you're on the bench, but you're a team captain, right? Like, there's something about his personality. He just grabs people, right? And so, yeah, man, we just invited people, and then we had this night at that house in an upper room again, where we're just like, we're just going to pray. That's it. We're just going to pray and see what the Lord wants to do. And so we prayed our guts out for like 2 hours straight, man. Just praying. Us and this group of random students. I didn't even know these people. And at the end of that night, it was just clear, like, the Lord was saying, you need to start a community that will evangelize on this campus. And so we called it Soldiers, with an S-O-U-L. Soldiers, and we made a shield. And at the time, this is how zealous we were. Tim had been reading a book by an exorcist. I forget if it was Father Gabriel Amorth, one of the most famous exorcists, or something. And he had read that the enemy, the devil, hates these 3 things the most: the Eucharist, Our Lady, and the Pope. And so, guess what we put on our shield? We were like, we're putting the Eucharist, Our Lady, and the papal keys. That's going to be our shield. That's going to be our symbol. That's what we're going to be about. So we just started this community, and I used my experience of household at Steubenville to create not just like a club or something, but a genuine community, like a family. Like, we had these family traditions that were a part of who we were, and a special initiation that wasn't anything weird, but it was actually like beautiful and touching. And we had like we called it a covenant. It was basically just like these words that sort of exemplified who we were. We had 4 marks to measure ourselves by. Let's see if I can remember. It was like apostolic zeal, true community, faithful prayer, heroic virtue. It's like, that's what we're going to be about, like these 4 things, so, man, it was just, I did that for 3 years, and the students that the Lord brought our way, world changers, bro. like world changers. I'm like overwhelmed with just gratitude about the students that the Lord brought our way. And especially, you know, not that I want to like tout the IVs as being all that, but you get really smart students who are going to have access to resources that most people just don't have. So like, you know, like really brilliant software engineers and doctors and, you know, all this stuff, man. And they're really, the Lord just gave us some incredible world changers. These are the people who are changing their communities where they're at, you know?
Yeah, to find the intellectual side of the Christian nature in action is pretty rare.
Yeah.
I feel like nowadays it's like sometimes they can be a little pretentious know-it-alls.
Yeah.
In the biggest detrimental way. But
you're right.
yeah, to find that humility in that high of a caliber kid.
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
100%, man. 100%. And Cornell's a tough school, man. Like they would call it the easiest Ivy to get into, the hardest to get out of.
Wow.
It had the unfortunately it had the it was known as the school with the highest suicide rate for Ivy kids. I mean, you just think about all these kids who used to be the top of their school, and then you put them in a box with all of the other ones, and then you force a bell curve on them. So like most of y'all are getting C's. Only, you know, it's just devastating, right? The sort of mental
Talk about shame.
pressure. Yeah. So these students went through a lot. It was weird, bro, because
And how again did you end up at Cornell from you were teaching, and how did you end up with Tim?
So
Was that just near your home with your brother?
Yeah, so I lived with my bro that first year, and I would commute to the high school, but my brother works for Cornell, so I'm like...
Okay, so he works for Cornell.
I'm like
okay, nice.
at the foot of the campus
yeah.
all the time, you know, and could easily go to daily mass on campus and stuff like that. And then that second year I meet Tim, and then it just kind of grows from there. Yeah, and then I leave my job after 2 years of teaching, you know. Walked into the principal's office and was like, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, sorry.
It was wild time, bro, because I lived solely off donations for 3 years. And I had college loans, a car payment, a phone payment, you know, rent, food. And as much as I wanted to have donors who would pay per month, you know, so that I could just rest and be like, okay, I'm set. It never happened. So it was month to month to month for 3 years. I probably raised 75 to 80 grand in 3 years, just month to month. And a lot of times, I remember one time I needed new tires on that Civic, and I was like, oh no, like $600. Like, where am I getting this from? Like, I don't get enough donations, and freaking out and begging the Lord about it. And then like a check would show up in the mail, dude, like a random check for $600. I kid you not, man. The Lord would do that over and over and over again. It really taught me a profound trust in God's providence. And I learned the secret of St. Francis, because when everything has been given to you, you can freely give so easily, man. Like when a student needed something, I was just like, take it. Like everything I have, literally people are giving to me. Like how could I keep this for myself, right? It's yours. It's yours. It all belongs. It's all God's stuff, man. So you just feel more freedom when he makes it clear that it's his stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those were formative years, man. It was incredible years. And after that, I met my wife.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me in my life happened.
Don't speed up the story either. I'll tell her.
That's right.
Keep the pace.
So right now people might be like, what happened to Kirsten? What happened to the girl that converted you?
Bye.
Yeah. No. Bye. The Lord wanted Kirsten for himself. She's a Carmelite nun.
Let's go.
I'm not even kidding, bro. She's a Carmelite nun.
Drops mic.
She's an LA Carmelite.
In the trenches.
She is absolutely awesome, doing this great work. her parents were worried. They're educators, and they're like, they were like, you're becoming Catholic, and now you're joining a convent. Like, what in the world is going on?
But Brian, dude.
But guess what? She became the principal of a Catholic school that the Carmelites run. So like, her parents just saw all this stuff come full circle, and she's using her gifts for the kingdom, and our friendship has been purified immensely. So she gets to write, I forget how many letters each year or whatever, but I get one of those Christmas letters. It's, it's treasured by my family, by Adrian and me, and we really look forward to that. And
a letter from a sister. Like, my aunt is a MC.
Yeah.
And we get those letters from her. I've got like 4 in my book sack, like withering away.
Yeah.
I like to pull them out in
these
adoration.
could be relics one day.
Yeah.
And they sure read like wisdom from a saint. So yeah, man, those
Beautiful.
are special letters. I've kept them all. But okay, so Adrian, one of the days in that 3rd year in upstate New York, the year that Tim and I decide we're starting this thing, right? Tim comes back to the house and he's like, yo, B, you are not going to get this, man. There's this freshman girl, and I go up to her trying to get her involved in the ministry, and she has the guts to tell me, you need to come to mass with me. And I'm like, get out of here, bro. That's wild. Like, we got to get her into the ministry. It's like, I know, man. I know. Can't wait to see her again or whatever. So I'm wondering, like, who this girl was that would say something like that to him. And I go to daily mass this one day, and the community in Ithaca at the time, I don't know what it's like now, man, but super progressive. In some good ways, but in a lot of bad ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like San Francisco's little sister to me, walking around in Ithaca, honestly. And even it affected the way that Catholics worshipped at the time, at that Catholic community, because like nobody knelt for the consecration. Father would invite everybody to go up around the altar because we're all priests or something like that. Like there was a lot of bad theology, bad ecclesiology, like skewed things that were going on. And it was full force there in that diocese, I would say. And so if you were going to stay in the communion of the unity of the church, you were going to stick out like a sore thumb. So I didn't go up around the altar. I knelt.
What do you mean go around the altar?
Like literally, like could you imagine like in a chapel that has maybe like 20 or 30 people, the priest during the Eucharistic prayer is like, now invite everybody to come.
Like a little kumbaya?
Like they were concelebrating priests. Like that, like standing around like in a circle around the altar. I know the look on your face. I know, bro. It's so wild. It's so wild. What happens is they take an important truth and blow it up to an extreme, right? So they're so worried about clericalism that a priest is put on a pedestal that you wrongly elevate the priesthood of the faithful, right? We are priests. We're all baptized, priest, prophet, and king, and anointed at our baptism. So every Christian has the baptismal priesthood, but some are called to the ministerial priesthood, which receives its own sacrament. It has its own special role in the body, but they would blur the lines in an attempt to be like, don't look at me.
Good intent, but he was watering himself down.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So if you didn't go up there and if you didn't stand during the consecration, you're going to stand out.
Yeah.
It takes guts, in other words.
Come on.
So me and maybe a couple other people are used to not going up there, and we're kneeling at the consecration. And then this one day, there happens to be this girl who's doing it too. And I was kind of like, oh, look at that. New person. Like, interesting.
We've gained one.
And then during the prayers of the faithful, some parishes, I don't know if you've experienced this, where during a daily mass, they'll let the faithful add prayers. So like someone might read the prayers of the faithful, and then if anybody else has a prayer to add. So they would do that. And this girl, she prays for the unborn children, which in Ithaca, could you imagine just like say that out loud in San Francisco and you know, get ready to duck. You know what I mean? So like she prays that out loud, and I was like, "Ooh!" On the inside, I'm like, "Gutsy! I like this girl, you know, gutsy." And so I'm just thinking to myself this whole mass, like, I gotta introduce myself to this girl, man. We gotta get her involved in the ministry. Of course, it ends up being the same girl that Tim was talking about. That's the same girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And her name's Adrian, and she came from Louisiana. And at first, it was just about the ministry. You know, just about getting her involved in the ministry, and we became friends. She was always hanging out with me and Tim, even in the midst of our stupid masculinity, you know, like we would be at like Tim's frat house just like for an hour and a half, 2 hours straight, just having a conversation about whether samurais or ninjas are better. Like stupidest stuff, man.
Sounds like Norman.
You do this with Norman?
No,
but Norman would do this. Okay. So it would, the conversation would go like this. Just so we're all clear, ninjas are the superior of the two. And I, of course, prefer ninjas. So Tim would be like, "Bro, I just took out my samurai sword and cut your hand off." And I would be like, you were about to cut my hand off. And then I pinned your hand that was reaching for the sword with a ninja star to the wall. And he'd be like, "No, actually, you thought that you were pinning that." You know, it would just go on and on for an hour at least, bro. And Adrian would just sit with us and just take it, man. She would just take the whole thing. She was just hanging out with us, whether we were doing stupid things or praying or evangelizing. And, you know, after a few months go by, I started to realize, like, I really like this girl, you know? There's something else here. It wasn't easy. There's some, you know, you have to have her tell some of the stories.
Yeah,
but I'll just say, like, I mean, in some sense, I get it. Like, I had already finished college. She's starting college, right? I'm older. I'm from California. I'm a brown guy. All of these things that are unexpected, right, for her, who white Southern Louisiana girl in her first year of college, right? So I am unexpected. I'm not what she or her family would imagine would be the guy that she ultimately marries or something like that. You know what I mean? So I knew that there were a lot of things going on. I was very honest with her at the point where I felt like, yeah, my feelings are strong enough that, you know, I just had a straight up conversation. I had been strung out enough women to know, like, I need to be a person of integrity. And I would use that word with Adrian a lot. And I remember just telling her, like, yeah, I've got feelings for you. I get that this might be really hard for all these reasons, you know, which I listed. And, like, I get it if you don't want to do that, because college is really formative. And if we were dating, you'd be spending a lot of time with me, and I don't want to skew, you know, what that experience is supposed to be like for you. But, you know, just honestly, this is how I feel. And her answer was like, I like you too, but I don't know. So, yeah, it took a while, bro. It took a while. She went into that Christmas break like praying about it, and then she came back with a no, like, we're not doing it. But then she would often still ask me to come hang out and stuff like that. So that was really hard. And I just remember one time, I told Tim, it helps when one of your closest friends is a defensive tackle on a D1 football team, right? So I was like, bro, no more of this, man. Like, I can't be hanging out with her anymore. You know, like, literally, if you see me or know that I'm going over there, pick me up and bring me back. Like, he's like, I got you, bro. I got you, bro. No more. That's it. That's the end. That's the end. You know? And it was that day where I had that conversation with him that she called me and was like, I want to have a conversation with you. I think I'm willing to give this a shot. And so I was like,
Well,
Tim, this just happened, okay? 1 hour. 1 hour on the clock. And if I don't get back to you in an hour, come over there and get me. It's like, I got you, bro. I got it. So
wow.
that's when we started dating, man, that night. And it's been a long, beautiful journey. We dated for about 2 years, and then we had a period where both of us were sort of discerning, like, should we step back from this, you know? For me, 2 years is like the good point where you're like, we know each other enough.
Yeah.
Time to make a decision, you know? And I was in a little bit of an I don't know, and I think she was in a bit of an I don't know, so we both agreed to step back for like a month or something like that. It didn't even last a week, bro. It was like the worst 2 days of my life, you know? Like the first day I was just a wreck, and the next day I was just like, this is the stupidest decision I've ever made in my life, and just realized I want to be with this girl. And it also happened to be during Holy Week, which just added extra intensity and suffering to it, you know? Like I remember Holy Thursday, adoration after the liturgy. I'm there praying before the Lord, and of course she has to go and sit like a few rows in front so I could see her and the Eucharist at the same time. And I was like, you know, Lord, like, what are you doing? Like, why her right there? And of course she looked beautiful, man, because the times in which she's the most attractive to me are when she prays, man. And like in front of the Eucharist, of course she was just like radiating. I was like, this is the worst, man. The worst. So I think it was on Good Friday. We and a group of friends had just finished watching The Passion of the Christ, which was the most penitential watching for me, because I was just like, I am in the midst of suffering, like intense suffering, and to watch all of this, you know. And then after that, I was just like, I'm not taking this anymore. Like 3 days is enough. Like I'm just gonna tell her I'm ready, you know. So I told her that I loved her, wanted to be with her forever, and she was like, heck yeah, let's go. So
I've been waiting 3 days, Brian.
Pretty much, man.
I've been on ice. It's melting.
Yeah.
Dang, dude. How many years gap are y'all?
5.
Okay, we're 8.
Oh, yeah?
We're 8.
Are you older or Haley's older?
I'm older.
You're older. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks.
Yeah,
That's just I shaved the whites out.
That was no knock on you, Haley. That was just I just needed the clarification. You know,
she knows she's way prettier than my ugly eye.
Oh, that's true. That's the secret to life is to marry up, bro. That's you know, marry up.